My shop is officially live. Why am I making this so difficult? So if you saw my last video, I printed, cut, and photographed all of the art prints that I'm gonna sell in my first launch of my shop, which is literally tomorrow. But I think I messed up the sizing in my head. When I created the art, I created them on square canvases in Procreate. I wanted to make my prints as easy for people to deal with as possible. Square frames are they're a little harder to come by. You have to go onto Amazon. They can be a little pricier just because they're not like your typical sized frame. Finding a 5x7, an 8x10, 11x14, that's a lot easier to find just like in Michael's or just any store really. So I decided to change my art into 5x7s, but I didn't really set up my Photoshop canvas properly, and now I'm thinking these prints won't work well when framed. Here, I'll show you. This is an 8x10, but when it's matted, it's a 5x7. I made the actual color 5x7, but it cuts it. Even though it doesn't cut off her at all, it cuts off the design. I really think I'm just making this a bigger deal than it actually is, and I'm just confusing myself way more when it's actually pretty simple. So I need to figure out how to keep what I have done the same, but just make it look better when it's framed. Here's the thing, part of me is like, this is my first launch. It's not going to be perfect. I'm doing this now and I'm gonna learn from it. Like, I just have to do it so that I can learn lessons from it. At the same time, it's my first launch. And if I don't make it perfect, there's a chance I will lose customers like that. This is my first impression. And so if I don't make a good first impression, I might lose potential customers. I could get bad reviews because people are not satisfied with what they get. I don't know. Oh my gosh. When it's other people's money involved, it makes me panic. I want people to feel like they spent money on something that is worth it. Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to figure this out. We'll test some stuff out. In my last video, I did mention the paper cutter, and it came. So let's open that up and let's see how it works. You should see my desk. I finally figured it out. I actually created a template on Photoshop with like the correct sizing and the correct placement so that I can literally just pop the images in and print. And I figured out this cutter took a hot minute. which I think it was just me being a little overwhelmed and like way too excited, and I had to like figure out like, what am I doing with this? I'm actually going to write down notes on everything that I figured out today when it comes to the way to set it up on Photoshop and how to cut it on here and all of that stuff so that I can remember, because the amount of chaos that it took for me to figure out how to get this correct was just ridiculous. I just went ahead to Michael's to like pick up a few little things to personalize the packaging a little more. Just something to work with now until I start to kind of like grow things and build stuff up. And I can start adding like my own little products that I make, like little cards and stuff. So
the gentle April rain that stained the window panes last night is all but gone, but lingers on in scented clouds of air. We watch the town.
I could not help myself. I grabbed little glitters. These are in the shape of stars. I will say that like my logo is a star, and I've always loved stars. A little star stamp. And then I'll show you if I haven't already put it in this video, but the way that the plastic sleeve fits, it's bigger than the actual print. So I'm going to have to like fold over a side. So I just grabbed these really pretty washi tapes to tape over the flaps, kind of like a little present. I actually have to go wrap up my faucets outside because cold days are coming.
Spring is in the air.
Today is shop launch day. My website has actually been published for a few days now, just because so that I could go look at it and like as if I were a customer. Next, I just need to put it up on my social media links. The old me is kind of like creeping in. I keep feeling like, I don't have to post it to my socials. I did it. I published the shop. It's live. If people find it, they find it. But I don't need to like put the link anywhere. I don't need to announce anything because like I'm really scared. I'm really nervous. Now that it's officially like it's possible for somebody to order something from me, now I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? But no, we're not gonna be like that. We're not gonna do that. That's the old me. I'm gonna post on socials and we'll go from there. Put your back up here. And then you get Ricky. Which I don't know, did I say this in the last video? I did not paint that. I did not make that. I used to work at a photo studio. We had like our dogs as models. So a stylist from that studio painted a bunch of the studio dogs. So we have Ricky here with us at all times. I posted everything onto social media. I just made like a really quick little reel and I posted on my stories. I do still need to post like the link in my like YouTube, and I started a TikTok. I don't know, I don't vibe well with TikTok. I'm not a huge fan of it, so we'll see how that goes. Instagram is where I have my biggest audience, so that's usually where I post most of my stuff first. But I'm trying to figure out, how do you see if there's like people on your site? How do you see, you guys, how do you see how, like who's on there? Or if anybody's on there? That's the big question. No settings? No. Not that. No. I got my first order. Okay, how do I do? Okay. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. I'm still trying to figure out. Oh my gosh, that is so crazy. I got there at one point. Oh, you go to home. 16 site sessions. I made a sale.
No way! How many? One?
One, yeah.
Which one did they buy?
Rihanna. Jacob is a voiceover artist, so you should go check him out. He's pretty cool. I feel like this is a good time to talk about all the fears that held me back but still kind of terrify me. Imposter syndrome. I think most people deal with imposter syndrome at least at some point in their lives, especially in the creative industry. And when I say creative, you have to be creative in so many different industries. So I'm not just talking about artists when I say that imposter syndrome is very, very prevalent in the creative industry. We are trying to work in a world where an algorithm, which is constantly changing, is in charge of what we see and what gets put out there. And typically the algorithm loves the bigger numbers, bigger amount of views, bigger number of followers. And let me just say real quick that the people that do have a lot of followers and a lot of likes and their stuff gets put out there, they've worked really hard to get those followers and to get those views. So it has nothing to do with them. It's just that really frustrating algorithm that I think can really affect how we feel about our own abilities. Typically the stuff that we see or the accounts that we see are the ones that have over the years built up a following and built up those views. So when that's all you're really seeing, it can start to kind of feel like, well, maybe the reason that I'm not getting views is because I'm not good enough. And it can feel really, really isolating because it starts to make you think you're the only one that's not gaining traction. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to find a community of people that you really deeply connect with. Whenever you're on your own little island, you're just trying to fight the algorithm, you're trying to get your foot in the door, but all you see around you are the people that have been doing this for years. They've gained their following over years of hard work and being able to perfect their craft over time. It is so easy to fall victim to imposter syndrome. You can't really compare your first year experiences and growth with someone else's 10th year experiences and growth. It's just not comparable. It's like y'all are on the same hiking trail, but they started at 5 a.m. and you started at 12 p.m. You're gonna get to where they are eventually, but you can't expect to be at the finish line when you start. Honestly, I think if you're able to just recognize imposter syndrome when it starts to creep up on you and just kind of accept that there's a chance you'll always start to fall into that, you can really kind of utilize it and make it a tool. So if you start to just get familiar with what it feels like, for me, imposter syndrome always leads me to burnout, and I start to feel like obviously nothing I'm doing is good enough. So if you start to notice that you're comparing yourself to somebody else, or you feel like you're not good enough and you're looking at somebody else's work, start to ask yourself, okay, why am I comparing myself to this person? And what is it about their work that I wish I could do, or that I wish I was better at as well, like they are? If they're really, really good at like shadows and lights, or on how they use color, or they're really good at like the background of their images, then take that and start working on that skill. Start focusing more on getting better at doing that yourself. And then you'll be spending so much time working on perfecting that in your own art that you won't have enough time to compare yourself to somebody else. There you go. On to number 2. Using the excuse, I'll start when I'm better at it. Y'all, I can't tell you how many times I have started a new drawing and my idea was, this is going to be the drawing that I just open up my shop with, that starts everything. This will be the beginning. And then halfway through, I am like, oh, I should have done the hair better. I don't like the thickness of the lines. I don't like the colors. It's just not good enough. The next drawing I do will be the start. And it's the same process all over again. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid right off. You are never going to be good enough in your eyes and your eyes alone. What you see as not good enough, riddled with mistakes, not worth a dime, is a masterpiece to someone else. You will always, always feel like you could have done something better. That feeling will never go away. And that's a great thing, because then we're always going to be improving. You don't want to get to a point where you're like, well, this is the best I can do. There's nothing better. Then what's the point? You know, you're never working towards something better. Something else to just keep in mind that has really helped me is, you know, every single paint stroke, every single layer, every color adjustment, you know how many times it took to get that arm proportionate to the rest of the body. So you were there through the entire process. So you're gonna see all the things that you feel like were a mistake. So the way that you look at your own artwork is completely different from the way somebody else sees it. So look at somebody else's artwork, somebody's artwork that you think that looks so effortless, it's flawless. I wish I could draw like that. I guarantee that the artist had the same struggles, had to redraw that hand a billion times and completely questioned every single thing that they were doing, or didn't know if this new technique was going to really work out. But you'd see their artwork through rose-colored glasses. Everybody sees your artwork the same way. We just don't see the flaws that somebody else sees in their artwork because we didn't make it. So if somebody else can show their work, show their amazing talents, and sell their stuff, you can too. Don't wait any longer, because if you keep waiting, you're gonna wait forever, because we can always get better. So just put it out now. There's no need to wait. All right, so this is my last fear that I will talk about. It's not the last fear that I have. I have tons more, but I don't want to share all of them, and then you hear me talk about something that I'm scared of and you're like, wow, I never thought about that. New fear unlocked. Mean people just exist. Whether you put your artwork or whatever you're passionate about, if you put it out there or if you keep it to yourself, mean people will always be there. They're hiding behind their screens because just like how scared you are, they are scared to put themselves out there too. And the thing is, you could shout it out 1 billion times, top of your lungs, on the top of the building, and say, people are only mean because they're struggling in life too, or they're going through something too. And that's absolutely 100% true. It's very much true. A bully is a bully because they were bullied. But that just doesn't make it any easier to accept. It can lessen the blow, but negativity, it just starts to build and build, and our thick skin will just become thinner and thinner over time. I wish that I could say that I had like some kind of trick or solution to not let mean people or negativity get to you, but it's just something we have to just deal with. Sadly, it's the sad truth. I personally don't think that the solution is to fully just accept negativity, because I don't think we should just be accepting people saying awful things that they shouldn't say. I think there's a way to accept that yes, negativity exists out there and I just have to deal with it. But no, I'm not going to accept somebody speaking to me that way. But still, I mean, what can you do? You can go through the comments and, you know, delete comments, create like, you know, comment boundaries or rules or whatever. But a lot of the times you still have to go through the comments to figure out which ones to delete, so you're gonna see them anyway. I don't know. Maybe there's a trick that I don't know about on YouTube, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you kind of just have to see it to know if you want to delete it or not. I will say that there are 2 things to keep in mind just to kind of help you just push through that fear. Number 1, if you don't put your work out there, if you don't put your stuff, yourself, your talents out there, mean people or negative comments are gonna be a little harder to come by. But all the positivity and amazing people and amazing opportunities and memories that you will create by taking that leap and putting yourself out there won't come your way either. And I can promise you, the positivity and the amazing people that you will meet through this is always, always, always going to outweigh the negativity. The negativity, it will not you a bit, but the positive things that come from this will always drown it out. And then number 2 is having a really strong community of people around you. That can be family, that can be friends that you've had all your life. But I think it's also so important to connect with people in your industry, in your community, people that totally understand what you're going through, totally understand the imposter syndrome and the feeling like you're not good enough, to be able to connect to those people that kind of have the same struggles and have the same mindset and are trying really hard to also get their work out there. That is so vital to being able to kind of conquer these fears enough to just push through and get out of your comfort zone. Like, I can very seriously say that there have been so many times that I was really nervous about posting something, posting new art, or putting a video of myself out there, you know, giving tips or tricks or something. And it really scared me thinking about the mean people that could come my way. But I always knew that there were those people that I have met through this industry that I know will always have my back. And that alone has given me the courage to post, because I know that they'll be there for me, and that's a really good feeling. Having those connections is priceless. And I'm not saying you have to become an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert. I am still very much an introvert and always will be. You don't have to become this like, you know, super extroverted person. No, just be yourself. Just be yourself. But don't isolate yourself, because that is a really good way to lead to burnout or to kind of just give up because you don't have that community and that support system that's around you. I really, really hope that me just being honest about the things that scare me, even though I only told you like a fraction of the stuff, I hope that it made you realize that you're not alone and you're never going to be alone. There will always be people feeling the same way, feeling the same emotions, going through the same thing, having the same exact struggles. You are not alone. Literally every single person has worries and doubts. And that person that you look up to that seems so perfect and effortless and flawless and like there is nothing that they could possibly struggle with, they are absolutely struggling too. They have fears, they have doubts, they question if what they're doing is actually good enough. We just don't see a lot of those things because a lot of the times we don't realize we're struggling with these like doubts, or we just tend to struggle or suffer in silence. So I feel like this is kind of important to at least tell you the things that have held me back in the past and that I still struggle with, but I'm trying to get better at just pushing through them. And you can push through them too, and I hope that you do. I really feel like if we just all come together and just conquer our fears together and just make this year the year that we're like, I'm gonna do it, let's do it, I think we can really make things happen. I really do. Let's make this the year that we just accept that we will always be scared. We're always gonna be afraid of something. We're no longer gonna let that stop us from just doing it. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next one. Love you.